right. So yeah, well, thank you everyone for joining us. Really appreciate everyone taking the time another day to join this conversation. As I've kind of mentioned already, I'm home here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Am home with 2 kids and a dog, so I'm really crossing my fingers that really goes smoothly. I apologize in advance for any background noise. It's been a challenge we've all experienced thus far, but I'm really looking forward to having a great conversation today. So let's dive in. So what we're going to do today, we're going to walk through a quick background of who we are, who Bold Penguin is, and then jump right into the meat of the conversation. We're going to share some real world examples, and our goal is by the end of today that each of you leaves with actionable insights that you can apply immediately going forward to your business. So let me know. I think we've got confirmation the audio and video should be working. If you have any issues, feel free to drop it in the comment section there, and we'll get that going. For any questions, please leave questions in the Q&A box down there. Don't want them to get buried. So we did save quite a bit of time at the end of the presentation to kind of walk through those and have the more informal part of the conversation. So this is our agenda, what we're going to walk through today, show you who we are, what the end of the road looks like when it comes to big growth, and then come back to the beginning and show you how to get there, and all the while providing perspectives on the agencies that we work with at Bold Penguin. So let's get started. Who are we? I'm Amber Willett, Director of Marketing for Bold Penguin. Prior to joining the world of InsurTech in 2017, I spent the bulk of my career on the carrier side. So 10 years with American Family in underwriting ops before moving into product and marketing. And with me today, of course, is Mark DeLeonibus, co-founder of Bold Penguin.
Hey, Amber, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good. Like Amber said, I'm Mark. I'm one of the founders of Bold Penguin. But prior to starting Bold Penguin, I was an agent myself for a number of years with an agency in Annapolis, Maryland. I've been around since 1881. And during that time as an agent, I really saw a lot of the inefficiencies that agents face firsthand. Everything from turning a stranger into a new customer. But the particular piece that really stood out to me was the interactions that agents had with their carrier partners and what could be improved and streamlined in that respect. And it was back in 2012 when I started building some of my own solutions to solve those problems, which ultimately led us to where we are today with Bold Penguin. So the most logical question that you might be asking, for those of you who aren't aware, is who is Bold Penguin? And for those of you who don't know, Bold Penguin, we operate the largest commercial insurance exchange in the universe. And additionally, we've built the infrastructure that commercial insurance runs on today. We're not an agent, we're not a carrier, we're a technology company that helps all the players in the commercial insurance space be more connected, making efficiency and profitability gains for their businesses.
Yeah, to me, that's what really made Bold Penguin stand out when I was on the carrier side and first started seeing the whole InsurTech movement in like 2016, 2017. So the fact that you and Ilya were actually former agents who were focused not on disrupting, but empowering agents and carriers was really cool and unique. So I spent 10 years working with agents on a daily basis with AmFam, so I have a huge appreciation for the work done on that side of the business.
So why did we decide to host this webinar in the first place? As we look to the future, we really felt compelled to offer some of our insights on the trends that we've been able to notice from some of the most successful agencies that we've observed over the years, from all across the country, both small and large. But here are some of the highlights I'd like to key on, and you're going to see some recurring themes as we move through the presentation. So small commercial, it's a big opportunity for agents and carriers who position themselves to really leverage the efficiency that technology is bringing to the table in the current market. I really believe that we are in the golden age for technology-driven innovation when it comes to small commercial. Carriers are willing to do things they weren't willing to do, 5 years ago. And the envelope is really being pushed and pushed. And it's really cool to see all that coming together. Also, another reason we decided to host this is we thought, hey, Amber and myself, we both have some interesting perspective. Amber from the carrier side, myself from being an agent for over five years and seeing all those inefficiencies and really opportunities firsthand. So we wanted to share that perspective. And then also, Bold Penguin itself really has a unique position to provide some really unbiased insights because of all the sides of the commercial insurance transaction that we see. We see it from the customer side, the agent side, the carrier side. The carrier side on both of the standard and also the E&S side as well.
So the title of our webinar is Unlocking Big Growth in Small Commercial in Your Slippers, which is, of course, a reference to our current work from home situation and also how flexible growth can be. We want you to have actionable insights that you can execute from literally anywhere. So let's talk about who the players are that we'll be focusing on today.
So today, what we're going to focus on are the agents and the carriers. So in particular, we're going to key on the interaction that they have with one another and how business moves from agent to carrier and some of the efficiencies that can be gained through using integrated platforms to stitch all the technology together and enable things like multi-line quoting through a single application. But we'll get more into that in a few minutes here.
So it might seem a little backwards, but we felt it appropriate to start with the end in mind. So we're going to show you some of the results that big growth agencies are achieving. Because if you do all of this, we want you to see what the types of results you can expect to see.
So the first group that we're going to talk about, large brokerage, and what we're going to walk through is what they were able to accomplish by deploying a big growth strategy. And in 2 years' time, they were able to essentially double their direct written premium. That was double the prior year, so from 4 to 9. And then generate 6,800 new policies in their target niches that were very specific to them and very important for them to grow in those areas. They've also been able to scale their business and strategically assign prospects to the rep that they believe is best positioned to help that particular business. So what they did within their organization that helped them push this direct written premium up and push these policies count up is they determined the easier verticals, the easier industries that could be routed to newer sales reps, and then the more advanced prospects went to the more experienced reps. And by aligning these with a carrier partner who can enable the agent to write that type of business, it really becomes a slam dunk. The next group I'd like to talk about, this is a smaller agency that spun out of a larger agency. But the reason for spinning out of that larger agency is they wanted to focus on a few classes of business that they had had a lot of success with over the years. And their goal was to really drive quote volume up month over month in those specific niches. So when they spun off, it was a small group that started, and they knew that only some agents within the agency could focus on outside sales, and others needed to focus on inside sales. And they were able to deploy technology solutions that would enable the outside sales reps to do what they did best, and enable the inside sales reps to really focus on taking businesses from that top of funnel to quoting more and ultimately binding more, and over 3xing that in six months here. The next group that I want to talk about, beginning with the end in mind here, this is a large brokerage that had a little bit of a different problem. And they really were looking at success from a different angle. They have great reputation, very strong relationships with very strategic carrier partners. But what they knew was that there was a lot of business that was coming across their desk that they were spending time on that they could not write. And they couldn't write it because that just wasn't efficient for them to write. However, what they've been able to do over the past year is they've been able to lean on technology partners, strategic partnerships, to monetize a business that they cannot write and drive up the lifetime value of their customer and enable them to pay more for a prospect, and in turn get more of the business that they do want to write. And that's really helped supercharge their growth and allow them to fill the top of the funnel. Final agency that I want to touch on here, a very, very niche focused agency. They write business across the country. That'll be a theme that you'll see as we move through the presentation today. But super niche focused. Their quote rate is over 90%. On the screen here, 12 minutes to quote. A lot of times they're binding during that first conversation. But the important thing that they've been able to achieve is dividing up their sales organization and their service organization. And in doing that, the salespeople don't service, the service people don't sell. And this has helped them achieve some of these metrics that you see on the left-hand side of the screen here at scale.
So what does it mean to unlock big growth? When I think big growth, I think new business. I tend to think of pounding the pavement, generating the largest quote volume possible. From what I've seen at Bold Penguin, though, there are a few really critical nuances to this that go far beyond quantity.
So to me, unlocking big growth, it really falls into a few buckets here, with the first one being efficiency. And efficiency is all about how well you monetize every prospect, every interaction that you have. Those businesses that you can and those businesses that you can't serve. I hear a lot of agents say, hey, I can write anything. And I felt that way as an agent. We had the relationships with plenty of carriers. We had any market that would be available to us available. And when you see those premium dollars in the commission, it's hard to say no sometimes. But from what we've seen time and time again, the agencies that are really hitting this big growth curve, and the smart agent, it's really the ones that are able to ask themselves, is this prospect, particularly in small commercial, worth my time? The big growth agencies, they're able to quickly bucket between that can and can't buckets and then triage from there. In the can bucket, that's all the prospects that the agencies weighed out the amount of time required to quote and bind and arrive at that relationship, and ultimately the amount of money that they're going to earn by engaging with them. It really comes down to just a simple math problem for them in terms of who they're going to work with. In the can't bucket, this goes to those businesses, those prospects that don't fit. And the big growth agencies, they find outlets to monetize these businesses very quickly, very efficiently. Whether it's a strategic partnership, a vendor relationship to offload these, or a partner like Bold Penguin who operates the largest exchange, those are the places they're going with those. Now, the next piece of the puzzle is speed to solution. And this encompasses three parts. The first part of this puzzle is knowing how to quickly and easily classify businesses correctly from an industry standpoint. Too much time back and forth with an underwriter, this will kill you in small commercial. It really will kill the profitability very quickly. The next component of that is knowing the market appetite, knowing what carriers have appetite. In times like today, it's undoubtedly carrier appetite is really going to change. And there's no way possible for any of us to remember who writes what. We all have an idea, but things change, and there's value in employing a programmatic solution that helps you determine appetite based off of carriers moving in and out of certain areas. The final piece I'd like to mention here on speed to solution is reducing the time that goes into inputting applications. And this means using a single application to retrieve quotes from multiple carriers from that single point of entry. Big growth agencies, they have all these tools and processes to unlock these areas and move the ball forward at breakneck speed. The final component that I'd like to mention here, and this to me is really the most important piece, it's building rock solid relationships. And a strong relationship is built on trust. People who do my old agency principal, they always said folks do business with people they like and people that they trust. And that, that trust starts on that first conversation, conveying that, hey, you have found the agent, the trusted advisor that's going to be able to help you now and well into the future with your business. And you need to deliver on what exactly you've promised. And this is going to increase client retention. And that really is the name of the game for big growth agencies, retaining those clients.
Yeah, these are the pieces that really get me excited about the future of the industry, that interplay between human and technology. Obviously insureds expect, like all consumers, speed and efficiency, but they are still looking for that trust and relationship. So that said, let's talk about things from an agent's perspective, and more specifically, what Bold Penguin has seen firsthand. At Bold Penguin, we interact with a lot of agencies and even more agents, and what we've outlined here are some of the common threads that we see across the majority of the agencies that are growing quickly. As I walk through these, think to yourself, how might this be a fit for my agency or one of the carriers I work with? The common thread with agencies who are growing quickly is that they are experts when it comes to filling the top of the funnel. That means having a multi-pronged marketing strategy. The separation between online and offline no longer exists. It's important to connect with prospects across all channels. That means maintaining traditional methods of marketing while also leveraging digital tools and content. This marketing strategy usually consists of a few areas when it comes to small commercial specifically. Now, first, referral from current clients. Second, digital capture of interested prospects through website or a vendor. 3, strategic partnerships with centers of influence, so complementary professionals and vendors within a niche, trade associations. 4, referral partners, accountants, attorneys, etc. And 5th, content program through social media and blogging. And again, it's about meeting them at all channels. The big growth agencies know that it isn't the industry or type of account that matters, it's the one that you can write efficiently. This rings true in small commercial because the revenue generated from these accounts are lower and you need to quickly move from one account to the next. So it's the partner who can move from one account to the next, making confident recommendations at scale that wins. We touched on relationships earlier, and I also firmly believe that relationships are the most important part of a long-term success, especially in the small commercial business. With that said, the way that prospects arrive and maintain relationships with their agents has changed dramatically with the growth in technology. The agencies that win here are able to interact with the customer in the way the customer wants to be interacted with and follow the conversation across all mediums.
Another non-negotiable for big growth agencies, in my mind, is writing business in multiple states. And I'm not just talking about your surrounding bordering states. I'm talking about 20, 30 plus states, going wide, but then going really deep into the niches that you're focusing on. So this means knowing your carrier partner, the value that they're delivering, and communicating with that value with the prospect right off the bat. Hey, Mr. or Mrs. Business Owner, I'm based here in Maryland, but I'm doing business in Florida because I have the partnerships with the carriers and I understand the uniqueness of your business better than anyone else in the country. And that's why I'm here to help you. No one else has the technology. No one else has the process buttoned up to serve your business better. And conveying that confidence of why you're doing business there will set you apart right from the start. It's a little thing, but it goes a long, long way. Another piece that I'd like to talk about here, we talk a lot about we talk to a lot of agencies, and the common thread between those that are really great and the ones that are exceptional sits around them being essentially cross-selling machines. So this means covering all the critical bases when it comes to the commercial needs, but then looking beyond commercial to figure out what other needs that particular insured has. And by always asking for that next sale, cross-selling, moving up in that manner, that's going to help you drive the lifetime value of your customer way up, and allow you to pay more to acquire a customer and fill that top of the funnel that Amber was talking about a little bit earlier, and really get you ahead of your competitors. The final point that I'd like to share here, from the agent perspective, is really, this sales funnel that we've talked about. It's if you're able to fill it, great, but if you don't have the technology to back it up and quickly triage prospects as they come through, and quote the ones that fit, discard the ones that don't, it's going to quickly back up. So your technology systems, from your agency management tool to your CRM to whatever you're using to quote and bind in that process, it needs to be really buttoned up. So this means having all those systems, technology in place to quickly move that prospect from stranger to new customer very quickly and efficiently.
So what makes a strong carrier partner for agencies who are growing quickly? Let's walk through the 5 considerations that we've seen facilitating the most effective partnerships.
So the first piece here, technology, that's the first piece. This means having APIs to allow agencies to build connections to that carrier, either themselves or allow them to work with a third party like a Bold Penguin that allows agencies to quickly quote and bind with those carriers. The second piece, leveraging carriers with service centers. And I know this might be a point that people are going to have mixed feelings on, but for big growth agencies, they know that their time is best spent filling the top of the funnel with new accounts and working through to take that prospect to a solution that they're looking for. And therefore, they're able to look for those carriers that have a service center, offload the servicing work to them once the policy is sold, and move on to the next account. Next point I'd like to make, coverage needs to be complete, needs to be competitive. And you can't sacrifice coverage at any cost, because it's always going to come back to bite you in the end. The thing that can be sacrificed, though, and it's not up here on the screen, but pricing. It's not as important as you think. Our data shows time and time again that the pricing, yes, it needs to be competitive, but it's not as critical, as you might think. What is far more important is focusing on those niche products, teaming up with those carriers that have those products to set you apart, and communicating your expertise early on in the process, and setting the expectations throughout, and making the customer feel like they have found the right partner because of the relationships you've built with your carrier partners and the understanding of the uniqueness of their business. So now I want to touch on some of the agencies that we've seen that are making big growth look easy. And I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this hybrid virtual agency approach over on the right-hand side. We know who the large national multi-location brokers are, the digital phone-based agencies who are, the insurtechs that are out there, very good at going wide into different niches, leveraging technology, or just digital phone-based agencies for that matter. But I want to spend a little bit of time on this hybrid virtual approach. And I'm sure that you're probably wondering what in the world this is. But this is something that we've seen time and time again succeed. It's an agency that's historically been more traditional, and they've really gone all in on a big growth plan for their agency. What this agency has typically done is they divide their team, draw a line down the middle between the agents who are the outside producers and a dedicated phone-based inside small commercial sales team that works over the phone. This inside sales team, they handle all of the small commercial, and they are experts at cultivating relationships over the phone in that manner. It's really important to note that something that we've seen be really successful is this inside sales team, since they are phone-based, this can easily be a work-from-home role. Making a work-from-home role has helped agencies lower overhead expenses and provide more flexibility to the employees. And it's particularly well suited for part-time agents. So this team is solely focused on selling new accounts, and all the servicing, or as much of the servicing as possible, is offloaded to another part of the agency or through some of those carrier service centers that we've talked about earlier. One thing that sets this inside sales team apart is that they have that one call close mentality, that we are going to ask for the sale on this call if we can. And we're going to take them from, hey, I have a problem, to, hey, here's a solution. And, are you ready to move forward? But if they can't do that on the first call, and it doesn't always happen on the first call, but that's the mentality. If it can happen on that first call, what these agencies are extremely proficient at is setting the expectations for what's going to happen next. They never hang up the phone without explicitly setting those expectations for what's going to happen in the next meeting. And I just want to spend a minute on what this actually looks like, because this might seem simple, it might seem minor, but this is the one thing that drives quote rates, close rates up, is setting these expectations. So during the first contact, if you're not going to take them through to a solution during that conversation, set the expectation. Hey, I'm going to prepare a few quotes for you, Mr. and Mrs. Business Owner. Let's get together at 3 p.m. tomorrow. Notice I didn't say, I'll get back to you tomorrow. An explicit time. We're going to meet at 3 p.m. tomorrow. During this meeting, I'm going to bring you my 2 best quotes. I'm not going to bring you 5. I'm going to bring you 2. So they're going to be from some of these following carriers. Now, this step is really critical, because this is your opportunity to stop that small business owner from looking anywhere besides with you. You've already let them know who you are, why you're doing business with them, or looking to do business in their state, in their area, in their niche earlier in the conversation. But now is the time to make sure that they're going to continue forward with you and stop them from shopping. It's very important to do that at this point here. The next thing that you should do is send a calendar invite to confirm the time over email. And then always ask for, this is like sales 101. I'm sure a lot of you have heard this, but asking for the commitment is so critical at this point in the process. If I can deliver on X, Y, and Z, is there any reason why you would not move forward with us? Earlier in the process, you probably figured out all the pain points, but this is a good time to ask this question again, see if you uncover an additional pain point, build that rapport, move forward from there. And then finally, after the call, send an email summarizing the conversation, everything that just happened, and then the day of, you want to confirm, send an email confirming the meeting. Doing these things, this will really help your keep rate with all the meetings that you have, and help you move forward with those prospects. So now to circle back on a few other points on this hybrid virtual approach, we touched on that we've seen what we've seen with respect to writing business in multiple states and going wide but very deep into a niche, and that being a factor that big growth agencies have had in common. But these hybrid virtual agencies, they really are absolute experts at it. And the final piece of the puzzle here is these agencies, they've made all their technology work together in concert. So the AMS, the CRM, whatever quoting tool they're using, they all talk together. They're all very buttoned up for small commercial. There's no double data entry across any of these systems. So this means choosing partners that can easily integrate with one another, or it makes it very easy for you to build your own solutions with those partners.
So we talked about a few different models, but what's really important are the different key performance indicators that these agencies are looking at day in and day out to make sure they're moving the needle to their goals of big growth year after year. After all, what gets measured gets done. So let's look at a few key metrics to keep an eye on.
Yeah, so here are a few of the key metrics, and I didn't want to overwhelm anyone, but these are a few of the key metrics that big growth agencies are really keeping an eye on when they're measuring the performance of their agency. The first one, lifetime value to customer acquisition cost. This is a growth metric that compares the value of a new customer over its lifetime relative to the cost of actually acquiring that customer. Customer lifetime value, this is an estimate of the gross revenue that a customer will generate before they churn or before they cancel. So cross-selling helps push this up. Cost of acquisition of a new customer, this is how much overhead goes into to take an account, how much overhead it takes to actually close a new account. What marketing spend is needed to actually acquire that customer and bring them in, and how much of that acquisition cost is offset by monetizing customers that you can't help. So those are the pieces that go in there, and that's a metric that is closely monitored here. The next piece here, your percentage of accounts that close on the first call is something that is kept an eye on by big growth agencies. Now, one call close, it's kind of a holy grail. It's great if you can do it, but it's important to keep an eye on this metric because in small commercial, this type of account, if you can close certain types of accounts in a first conversation, it's going to require the least amount of overhead to generate new revenue for the agency. And overhead, it kills the margin. The next piece here, the time it takes to turn a prospect into a policy in force. Now, we all know not every prospect is going to close in that first conversation, but you need to be measuring how long it takes to get that policy in force. So the number of touches that it takes, whether it's calls, emails, those interactions, you need to measure how many touches it takes. A good CRM will help you measure that and make your life easy measuring all of that. Also, the number of days it takes to get a policy in force from that first interaction to the time that revenue is generated for the agency. And all of this needs to be monitored on how it is trending over time. Now, another factor that big growth agencies are keenly aware of is the actual time to quote and how many minutes does it take their team to bring a quote back. So that's the difference between going directly to a carrier portal, bring quotes back, or using a rating software to bring back multiple quotes. There's reasons why you would go directly to a carrier portal. There's also a lot of reasons why you would use a rating software. But being able to know what niches justify doing what and measuring that explicitly is going to help you tremendously. On average, what we have seen across the board for small commercial classes of business that fit neatly into that category, there's a 3 times more efficient by quoting multiple carriers through a single application than going one at a time. The other piece to measure here, how long does it actually take to present a quote to the customer once you have it? And what does that look like as well? So now I'd like to share some benchmarks of what we're seeing in terms of some factors that big growth agencies keep an eye on, and what are some kind of rules of thumb, benchmark metrics here. So for quote ratios, and when I'm talking quote ratios, I'm talking from top of funnel to bottom here. Best in class are seeing quote rates from 65 to 85%. And again, that's everything that goes into the top of the funnel. As far as a quote to sold ratio, best in class, we're seeing between 50 to 70%. And with the minimum acceptable for big growth agencies being 40%. Now, obviously, this varies by niche, by class of business, so on and so forth. But again, that's what we have seen here at Bold Penguin. As far as prospects to sold, around 30 to 40%. So that's cold prospect, top of funnel, to being closed and generating revenue for the organization. And agencies who employ one of these big growth campaigns here, they're looking to break even between 9 to 12 months of starting that campaign. And that's what is deemed as success there. So now we've outlined what these agencies look like, what they're keeping their eyes on. Now it's time for the rubber to meet the road and talk about how you can move your agency in the direction of big growth and what you can do to really take action here. The first thing you can do, and the first thing I like to do when you're going after a big goal, is just take a step back and look at where you want to be in 1 year's time. Anything farther than a year out, it's really hard to make it feel real. And then just block off some time to have a brainstorming session. Think about everything that you want your agency to look like, and paint the picture from top to bottom. What does your team look like? How many employees do you have? Who are your customers? You know, what areas are they focused in? What type of carrier partnerships have you built? What type of new tools are you putting in your toolbox? What strategic partnerships have you built in that regard? How is technology being deployed within the agency? What does the culture start to look like? And what is your ideal scenario? This is the time to really look really big. And out of all of this, you should start to arrive at some metrics that you can key in on. And maybe it's something like, we want to grow small commercial premium by X percentage. Once you have those metrics to focus in on, then it's time to start working backwards and ask yourself, what is the one thing that I can be doing at this point in time to affect that metric? And work backwards from a year, 6 months, 1 month, or 3 months, 1 month, 1 week, 1 day, and ask yourself that question: what is the one thing I can be doing at this point in time to affect that metric? And you get a lot of clarity when you start to work backwards and start to ask those questions. And it becomes very actionable. Now, the next step, once you have all that laid out, you want to figure out where technology can streamline your internal processes. And this is going to help drive the metrics that we mentioned previously through the roof and really help you keep score. So here are some of the common areas where technology can help and some recommendations. First piece of the puzzle is to separate your agency management system and your CRM. You're going to separate them, but you want them to talk together. Agency management systems, they are great for the activities of managing your agency, but they really fall short. The majority of them really fall short when it comes to the functional capability of a great CRM, particularly around that stage of turning a stranger into a new customer. Let the CRM handle everything up until the point that the business is closed, and let the agency take things from that point on, and make sure they talk together along the way. The next point I'd like to make, use a commercial lines rating software. It's small, it's 2020, it's small commercial. There's no reason to be behind the curve here anymore when it comes to quoting new business. Carriers, they've opened up their APIs. They've made it very easy for folks to work with them. If you're doing it the old way, you're undoubtedly losing market share to agencies that have adopted this new technology. We're seeing it time and time again. The trick is really to figure out which one is going to be the best fit for you. Some of the questions that you should be thinking about asking when you're going through this is, do they have the carriers that you're already working with? Are they going to let you use your direct appointments? Do they provide you access to new products or niches that you don't have access to? What are they doing around E&S? Are they making your life easier to work with the technology that you've already deployed within your agency? Is third-party data being integrated to help your team make better decisions? How are they helping with that first interaction with the customer that the customer has with your agency? The next piece that I'd like to mention here, you need to also identify products and partnerships. So products from carriers that can easily be underwritten with minimal underwriter involvement. Although this might not be a broad spectrum right now, it is progressing day by day. And there are some great niches out there. Everything from retail, restaurant, artisan contractors, professional personal services, light manufacturing, restaurants, tech-based, so on and so forth. Key in, build those relationships, get to those relationships, that really are a fit, and it's going to help you supercharge things. Also, building the digital culture. Now more than ever, it's important to have a culture that can thrive in a digital environment. Virtual meeting tools like what we're using right now, Zoom, is fantastic. Also, High Five as well is another great tool. Communication tools like Slack, Microsoft Teams are great for when you have folks who are obviously work at home or otherwise. And then finally, the last point I'd like to make is really adopt the sales and marketing strategies that fit for a digital marketplace. And Amber's talked about this quite a bit, but really that focus on filling the top of the funnel with that multi-pronged marketing strategy. That's going to help make everything a heck of a lot easier. So that concludes our presentation portion of the webinar. But Amber and I, we've both made our schedules available for the next week for anyone that would like to talk one-on-one with us and dive deeper into your individual growth goals and see how we could help with that. We've seen this big growth story play out time and time again. And I know it can be daunting. There's a lot of information here. We're happy to be a resource to help you navigate that journey and really be a sounding board for you as you move forward. Our contact information is up at the screen, so please do not hesitate to drop us a note. And we're more than happy to get together with you within the next week just to talk through anything that's of interest. But now, with the time that's left, Amber, I think it's a good time. I know I've seen a number of questions come in. Open things up to question and answer. Amber, do you have anything before we get into question and answer to add?
Yeah, so absolutely. Thanks, Mark. So to answer a couple of frequently asked questions, yes, the recording will absolutely be available. We'll make sure that you get that. And we aren't diving into like Bold Penguin, like technology specific in this webinar. Certainly happy to have those conversations. Obviously, we kind of walked through our view on the industry, and we're happy to share more on that, and then also like what we do specifically. So those are two FAQs. And then we also have, I think, enough questions to do like a whole nother webinar just on the questions. So thank you so much everyone for your engagement. I'm just gonna walk through and pick a couple of them here. They're coming in fast and furious. Okay, so the first one here, how should we think about building a relationship with a small business while we outsource service to a carrier to be more efficient?
All right. It broke up there for a second, Amber. What was it? What was?
Oh, sure. Sorry about that. So how should we think about building a relationship with a small business while we outsource service to a carrier to be more efficient?
Yeah. So around that, this is really a great question. I knew it's one that would come up. And I know agents have strong feelings about carrier service centers. But because servicing is really an opportunity to add a ton of value to your relationship, it's why people stay with you. But if you're growth focused agency and you're cross-selling at a high percentage, you should really consider leveraging the carrier service centers as a partner to help you grow and reduce the cost reduce costs by outsourcing that servicing. At the end of the day, it is a personal decision. It really depends on what type of agency you have, what type of business model, who the carrier partners are. But by leveraging that, that's going to help you free up a lot of time in that regard. But I just want to make that point about the cross-selling. If you are cross-selling, that's a way that can help you succeed there.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, next one up here. You mentioned the need to have KPIs and track your results. How many minutes should it take an agency to quote new business, and how many quotes should we try to get for a small business?
Oh gosh. Well, I guess it depends, how quick you can type on the keyboard, right? But really, everything depends on the carrier that you are writing with, and also the industry. But if we're sticking to the Main Street style small commercial, I would say on average, it's probably going to take you 20 minutes to key it in to a carrier portal. So that's run the quote, organize the information for the proposal, present it to your customer. On average, you're probably running 2 to 3 different quotes that you feel are the best fit for the customer. And then the agents we're seeing, they're presenting 1 or 2 that they feel is the most competitive. And they're having the customer make the buying decision there. So if you look at it, it's probably a minimum of an hour of work just running through the carrier portals. So the time savings by using a tool in commercial lines can really be dramatic to bring back multiple quotes through a single application. At least that's what we've seen.
Gotcha. Thanks, Mark. Next one here. So the one call close that you talked about, are small businesses really willing to stay on the phone for 20 to 30 minutes?
I know it sounds, like the perfect scenario, but based off of all the businesses that the agents that we've interacted with, and the ones that we've really seen doing this right and set those expectations, I can definitively say, yes, they are. And if you've conveyed the confidence early on in the conversation that you're the best fit for them because of who your agency is, who your carriers are, and laid that foundation early on, and then also your understanding of the uniqueness of their business. Hey, I've done this before. That's going to go a long way, and they will stay on the call. Now, the key to balancing that is if you are promising them that you're going to be able to deliver on this call, you need to deliver. So you can't set false expectations. It just kills trust. It's not going to happen 100% of the time. But if you set the expectations, I think you'd be really amazed how many people follow through on that first conversation for those small commercial accounts that fit. And I think it'll happen more often than you expect.
Yeah, I actually can really connect with the whole expectation setting on both sides, also as a consumer. So I've spent almost my whole career in insurance. So people are surprised when I tell them I actually still have an agent. Like I have an independent agent, and I literally rely on my agency to do that legwork for me on a personal line side even too. I don't like go online and quote it myself because I like that, because they set the expectation, they create the quotes for me. He walks through like, I'm going to bring you 2, I'm going to tell you the differences. This one has like ACV roof, this one doesn't. And I think even today, even with like a millennial consumer who knows insurance, that expectation setting and that value add in that relationship, I just think is so impactful. So cannot agree more on that one. Next one up. Can you share more insight into what tools are needed to be able to learn about an account, what an account needs, and generate a quote in under 30 minutes?
Yeah, so I'd be happy to share some more detail on this, and I'll speak to what we've done from a Bold Penguin perspective specifically, and then talk in some more generalities around it. I think that's the best way to go about it. For those of you who are not aware, Bold Penguin, we do offer a solution to quote multiple carriers through a single application. And when we built this tool, one of the key pieces that we took into account was that need to minimize double data entry. So the way our application works is you start by filling out a master question set that identifies all the duplicate questions from any potential carriers that would be in play. And once you finish that master question set, then you get into the carrier specific questions. Now, what happens, because you filled out that master question set, you've dramatically cut down the number of questions that need to be answered. And this is the single greatest factor in helping agents generate multiple quotes in less than 30 minutes to review with their customers. And a lot of times, using our platform, it's a lot less than that. So, our platform leverages our carrier partners' APIs to integrate and bring back the quotes directly through the platform and be real bindable quotes. Another thing that you need to pay attention to when it comes to generating quotes in under 30 minutes is the use of a good CRM system. A CRM isn't going to directly help you quote faster. However, it is going to help you manage your time throughout the day and undoubtedly lead to faster quote times. A CRM can make sure that all your follow up happens and nothing slips through the cracks. The tool that we use internally is called SalesLoft, and it organizes everything, all the prospects you need to call, your email cadences, and it is automatic. You still have to engage with people and talk to them, but the follow-up happens automatically. It's really neat to see how that just works, and everyone gets followed up. So that's very, very cool.
Perfect.
Any others out there, Amber?
Yeah, I found a fun one here. What is the most interesting small business you have ever helped get insurance?
Oh gosh. I can think of two that come to mind. First one, we've seen millions of businesses come through our exchange now. But the one that stands out to me, we had someone coming in that was transporting space freight. So they were working with SpaceX, and they were literally putting freight on a rocket to go to the International Space Station. That was pretty wild. I think, yeah, that one comes up quite a bit. I know that's a favorite on the team. But the other one that was interesting, and I talk about this one from time to time on my demos. We had a gentleman who was drying cherry trees with a helicopter. And when I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh, like that is as unique as they come. I mean, really?
I think I think the first 10 years of my career, 10 years, was personal lines. It's not that you don't see like unique risks on personal lines, but commercial lines, it's amazing all the nuances to business and all the different like creative ideas people have to make businesses. And they all need insurance, I mean, no matter what you're doing, you need to protect it, right? So that's been really fun to see the ideas that people come up with for businesses, and obviously it's a big part of what we do. So I'm looking at here the next one. First, I'm getting a lot of questions about like our technology specifically. So I'll definitely circle back to that afterwards. We can actually send out an email to all the attendees, because I think some questions have been anonymous. So we'll make sure we give you an opportunity to learn more about that. But in the meantime, here's a Bold Penguin related question. So does an agency need to be tech savvy to use the Bold Penguin terminal? What is needed to be able to make it work?
So our terminal, the way we designed it, and I'm also the director of our agent terminal product. And to me, this was a tool that I wish I had when I was an agent. And the way we built it was for it to work right out of the box on its own. Everything that you need to quote, get access to multiple carriers, leverage our exchange to receive and send business that isn't a fit. It all works right out of the box. So in order to set it up, there's not a technical integration required for that agent terminal product. So you don't need to be over technical. With that said, the type of agents that we onboard to the agent terminal, they do have their technology buttoned up on the other side of the house. So that means CRM, agency management system, all the core systems are buttoned up. We do look for agencies that have a level of tech savviness or are able to adapt and deploy it.
Perfect. Here's another one referencing our exchange, that can't bucket that you mentioned. Can you tell me more how referring businesses that our agency is not able to help or does not belong in our bucket can be referred to Bold Penguin? Yeah,
so I know I talked about this can't bucket, and the way a lot of agencies are offloading business that doesn't fit. It's either through a strategic partnership, vendor relationship, or someone like us, Bold Penguin Exchange. And the main reasons why agents send business into the exchange is that the business might be too big for them, too small, or the number one that big growth agencies see a lot of is it's just not worth their time. And they know by offloading that they can move on to the class of business that they want to and make money in the process. Now, the way that they send it in is they can leverage our API, which is very, very easy. A lot of times we'll tie in with their CRM or another method of them sending the business over. So it just happens automatically when they say, hey, doesn't fit, automatically comes over and they get paid. We can give a unique phone number that you can give out to a prospect that they can call, and every prospect that calls in, is tracked that way. Or we can use something that we call our embeddable penguin, where we power a form that sits on your website, very easy to deploy, or allows you to enter, information on the prospect that isn't a fit. It really is very easy to access our exchange, and you get compensated for all the prospects that you send in that manner.
Awesome. All right, we've got 60 seconds left, so I'm going to pick one more. But like I said, I'm overwhelmed with all the engagement here. So appreciative of everyone's attention. So we'll make sure we get answers for all of them. But last question that we have time for in this 60-minute bucket is, how many small businesses do the best-in-class agents quote per agent per day?
Oh, that's a good one. So per agent per day. What we're seeing on a per agent per day basis, between 8 to 10, I would say that's best in class if we're going back to those metrics. Something else that this depends on is whether or not you're using a pre-screener. So when I say pre-screener, I mean somebody that you have the business coming in from the top of the funnel. You might have somebody on your team that talks to that business, vets them, and determines which agent within your agency is best suited for them. So that can have an impact on helping drive that up as well. Using a pre-screener can really help an agent quote more prospects per day by helping filter out that funnel. But 8 to 10 would be the number. Oh, and I just saw it hit 3 o'clock. So.
Awesome. Well, I swear I did not stock these, but yes, we are accepting new customers. Would love to talk more. And definitely, like I said, Mark and I would love to continue the conversation, whether it's about like industry trends or like how you could work with us and how we could help you. So again, thank you so much for taking an hour of your time to spend with us. It's been so fun to connect with people. I just really appreciate your engagement in this conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was wonderful. Really overwhelmed by the attendance, and I appreciate everyone's time today. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Stay well, stay healthy.
Bye.
Bye.